Welcome, everyone, to the Digital Collective. I'm your host, James Hicks from Hicks New Media. And on this show, we focus on the people, platforms, and tools that are making positive strides within the technology sector today. My guest today is Mr. Adam Yasmin. He is a man of many talents, multifaceted. We started thinking we were going to talk about one thing. We may actually end up going a whole different way. He's a former UX designer turned digital habits coach and facilitator of immersive tea experiences for work life wellness. Listen, I just like that line right there, and I may put that on my own business card. Today, we're going to have a two-pronged discussion. Right. See, he's laughing in the back. I'm not sure if you hear him. On the heels of my recent discussion with Taino Bendz about breaking free from your phone addiction, Adam reached out and wanted to continue some of that dialogue. So we'll start with some ideals. We'll start with some best practices and suggestions for making a healthy tech life balance. Then we'll see if we got time. We'll switch gears and talk a little bit about some of the other professional pursuits that Adam is involved in, such as his work with Swell Audio, which is providing an evolution, right, of the traditional podcast experience. It's going to be a good show. Y'all chime in. We're about to get busy. Let's go. Adam, where are we going, man? We I may have to change the title, but regardless, we're gonna have a good conversation. You got your
I
tea,
mean,
I got my coffee. Let's get it
cheers.
in, man. You too, sir. Um, let me do this. I gave that 35,000 foot overview, but you're a multifaceted individual. I can tell already. If you could tell my audience, who is primarily solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, folks in digital content creation, folks within technology. If you could tell us who it is that you are and kind of where your main target and focus is right now, because I think, again, that's where we're going to switch some of this conversation today, if you don't mind.
You know the challenge of being a multi hyphenate is that there is no one true tried and true way to introduce myself. But also from like a Zen mind, beginner's mind of like trying to have maybe a continued experience, but it being like a first time experience and trying to learn from that. For the for the sake of today and being here with you and the audience, um, I'm a humane technologist. I am a non-digital native. I am an elder millennial. I'm turning 40 this year in the fall. So I grew up in a time where the edge of my childhood was like that last gasp of like no devices.
Hmm.
And and in your intro, we can expand on that too. I am a former UX designer by trade. I stumbled into what is UX? User experience design. What does that mean? It means that role specifies that there are people, designers, who are designing the look and feel of a digital experience, namely app and web-based experiences, in a way that ideally bridges users' needs with brand goals. That's what a UX designer, at least that's what I bought into, when I became a
That's what
UX
they told you
designer.
in the syllabus, right? Yeah.
That was, on the factory
Yes,
walls,
sir.
when we came out of the UX factory. And not to throw any shade on UX designers at all. But I realized it wasn't for me after 5 years of swashbuckling as a first time dad,
Mm.
as someone who felt it was really, 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 really important to not disappear for 12 hours a day. I mean, we're gonna go really deep today.
Listen, man.
That's
Let's
what's
get
gonna
it,
happen.
man.
Um, so yeah, I mean, it is, there's a lot to be said about like, yeah, coming into design and tech from a creative perspective,
Mm,
going into UX, on the promise of a work-life balance, on the promise of a solid paying role. I mean, work-life balance was what was pitched to the role,
right.
like in the pursuit of the role. And why was that important for me? Because I was a first-time dad. I became a dad in the summer of 2015 and made a choice right away. I want to find the gigs that let me work from home or as close to home as possible, saving on a 2-hour commute. I live in LA. Commuting is like,
Brutal.
we weren't zooming in 2015. You know
That's
what I
true,
mean?
man. You
Or in 16, or in 17. You know what I mean? So, um, and I paid a lot for uh for that decision. I
mm,
paid in personal upheaval. Sorry if you're hearing any of these. I'm gonna turn on do not disturb mode. Apologies.
no worries.
Um, yeah, I paid in like a personal bankruptcy, in the first year of the pandemic, which was like 5 years of freelance work catching up to me, in a year of complete work upheaval. Right, that first year of the pandemic.
Right.
So, but at my core, I've always been a people person, and I'm really curious about other people.
Mm,
I'm really inquisitive about people, and I'm more empathetic by nature, probably due to the fact that I was raised by some exceptionally narcissistic parents who I have really strange relationships with. And so, as a coping strategy in my life, in my adulthood, in my adolescence, I chose more inquisitiveness, more empathy, more inclusion,
mm.
and which is what spurred my interest in working in design. The problem wasn't with design, the problem was with business.
Come on. Okay.
And I,
Come on. I'm gonna open this can right here. Let's go.
yeah, I mean, and I'm an open book, man. So it's and I just, like I said before we went live, like, I have my therapy call on Tuesday morning. I work with a depth psychologist and Jungian analyst where we do dream based work, and so I have my call Tuesdays till 12:30. So I'm in kind of a lucid space, and all of which to say that the problem with design was really accenting the issue of business, or sort of bottom line business
Mm,
goals. When I got into design, that was the gigification, that was the gig economy, like becoming very, very, very monolithic.
right. Right.
That was like, I in the first year of freelancing, I had to sign up with something like 7 different talent farms. Why? Because employers don't hire talent directly anymore. They go through recruiter
An
agencies.
agency. Yeah.
And again, no shade to the recruiters that I know and that I respect. I mean, a job is a job as well. But to be frank, recruiter agencies are kind of like, I don't know, early on, like it felt kind of like a mafiosa thing. It was just like, I can't have a relationship with my employer. It's mediated through you. Everything happens through you. All these contracts that were coming at me were permanent independent contractor
Hmm.
roles. Something as short as 2 days or as long as 2 years. No more full time roles, no more benefits, no more work life balance, no more health insurance. Like all that stuff, just it happens so quick, it metastasized so quickly. again, as a person who identified with the important value of I need to be close to home, I
Mm-hmm.
need to raise my daughter, I need to not disappear for 12 hours a day, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to do that, even if it drives me into debt. And then, unfortunately or fortunately, I mean, just given the perspective shift,
So,
having,
oh, I was gonna say,
so that was a
so
mouthful. That was a mouthful.
no, I
Yeah.
mean,
Sorry.
that was good stuff, right? I was gonna say, so coming to that realization and coming to that understanding for yourself
Yeah.
is one thing, right?
Yeah.
It's admirable as well, right? And I like the term that you use, courageous. But coming to that realization and saying, now I want to go out and help others get to
Yeah.
this point and realize
Yeah.
that, uh, you know, the I-9 world, the hustle and bustle world, again, pre-Zoom, Teams, web, whatever it is that we use today, when we
Yeah.
actually had to get in the car and drive on the 5 and the 405 to get to those locations and be stuck in traffic for 3 hours. Lived it, done it, do it. But what was that dynamic that said, you know what, I understand who I am and what I value from this tech work life balance? What was it that said, I want to go out there and do that for other folks as well and help folks get to this point of understanding, conscious understanding,
So,
right? Instead
yeah,
of just doing it, actually having some type of plan in place to segment the day.
I had a really impressionable experience in my mid 20s. So, about 15 years ago, I sat down to experience what's known as Gong Fu Cha, which is a Chinese tea um, tasting, a
Mm.
ritual. And it literally changed my life.
Wow.
And from that seed planting experience, I became a student of Chinese tea culture. It's something that the experience itself, not just the object, not just the tea itself, the experience of it, right? The methodology, the brewing technology, the
Mm.
tools, the process, the flow, that became something that I actively pursued like a mode of spirituality or like a relationship, a partnership. It's those experiences that informed a lot of my inquisitiveness and openness, uh, and being in service to others. So I one of the ways that I balanced my life as a freelance UX designer was I also moonlit as this kind of like, not a Bruce Wayne Batman vibe, but like I kind of moonlit as like that weirdo designer guy who would like pour tea at the startups that I'd work with.
That's too cool.
Um,
Okay.
you know what I mean? To just like to what was the purpose? To humanize the technologists that I was working with. Why did
Mm.
I do that? Because I noticed, let's say in one of the startup incubators that I worked with on a 3-month contract, a couple of things I noticed, not just incubator uh, schedules, which are something to behold, like being like it's like if you work at Disneyland or something and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of beholding the marvel of running a theme park. Um, Coffee sponsors, Soylent showed up, installed a refrigerator of endless Soylent. Um, uh, Not to say that these things are dehumanizing, but there weren't a lot of human experiences happening.
Okay.
And so I identified early on, again, being a multi hyphenate, being a dad, being a partner, being a musician. I'm a bass player, a percussionist. I've been for 20, 30 years. I like slowing down. It helps me self regulate. And I
Mm.
like helping other people slow down because it helps us co regulate. And so my bringing tea into the workplace is a way to slow the F down,
Mm-hmm.
to remind us that this is a human experience. We can have a million digital experiences where we think we're having human experiences. It might not always be the case. But this in person experience over tea is an innately human experience, and I wager it's really important that we hold on to these things, these rituals, these timeless rituals of sharing tea, irregardless of the culture. There are an infinite amount of cultures around the world that celebrate tea, each in their own unique and special and beautiful way. And so that was kind of my value proposition.
Okay.
It became something that I offered as a service, tea as a service to
You
to
should trademark
startups, to
that. That's pretty good,
organizations.
man. You might want
I
to
mean,
trademark
I
that.
kind of I kind of played with that a couple
Yeah.
years ago, but now tea as a service is too punny because there are a lot of tea puns, as we know. However, in this current moment of workplaces foisting people back into the office or
Hmm.
foisting hybrid work schedules, I'm bringing it back. I'm saying, okay, if you're gonna force people, if you're gonna really bring them back in, um, let's be welcoming. Let's focus on workplace wellness. Let's focus on tech
Mm.
life balance. These are all labels. They
Right.
don't really have any fixed deep meaning. The meaning comes from your own subjective experience. These are kinetic terms.
Yeah.
There's nothing really static or solid about them.
Yeah. But
I hope I answered the question. I want to make sure I answer the question.
oh, you always listen. You're doing a pretty good job.
Okay.
We are going pretty deep here. So again, folks may have tuned in for part two of this discussion. We started with this part right here, and it's actually better. But I want to touch on this: the fact that something, and I don't want to say trivial, but something so small or something so probably unassuming. That's the part of as just having that experience of experiencing a tea, right? That human connection, that slowing down. I love that piece right there. That slowing down and having a cup of tea with someone. Those are the experiences that matter. Those
Yeah.
are the experiences that you're going to remember 2 weeks down the road, 2 months down the road. Hey, James and Adam, we sat down and we chopped it up, and we who knows what we talked about, but we had a human experience over a beverage, regardless what that beverage is, tea, coffee, scotch, whatever. But that, as opposed to be dialing into another Zoom, another WebEx, another conference call about X, Y, and Z. Those are the things that matter, and translating that into the workplace. Because I gave HP 20 years of my life. That's why I have no hair anymore. And one of their mantras was, again, understanding work life balance and understanding total compensation. Right, you take home X dollars, but you also get company car, you get flexible work space, you get all these other things that you should look at and say these are also what you get by working here. So take those extra days off if and when you need them. Not many companies still do that. I'm no longer with that organization, but not many companies, especially in technology, which we are in, right, focus or dial into the mental health aspect, the mental awareness aspect, the time off aspect of Adam. You got to take 5 hours a day just to take care of yourself. If that means just you sitting in the corner and watching ESPN all day, fine. That's how you do it. But if but why is it that we've gone to a point now where we're not as concerned? And I may be speaking out of turn by trying to stereotype and put everyone in that bucket. Why is it that we've gotten to a point where we're not as concerned about the individual and being able to separate our use of all of these pieces of technology? Because you pointed at your phone, and you're getting text messages right now because you had to mute it, right? You're getting all these dopamine hits from your phone. Why is it that our organizations where we spend the majority of our life aren't locked in on saying, Adam, you need to break away from that and do something like just having that cup of tea and going through that experience to where you can slow down, reset, recalibrate, things like that. I know I said a lot,
I
but
mean,
I think
that's it.
hopefully you understand where I was going with that.
I get where you're coming from, and it's an important question because, on the one hand, during lockdown, all businesses showed their entire ass
Mm.
by
Oh,
leaning
we
in.
talking today, folks. Yes, sir.
It's Tuesday. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not. Forgive me for if I'm using any salty language, but like
It's all good, brother.
It's, I mean, just to be real. Like, let's be real and recall. Let's recall. Let's not forget
Mm,
that during lockdown, all these businesses were like, okay, if you're working from home, we're just going to keep shoveling tasks, task. You're going to be more on call. There's no more division. There's no more, I'm at home, then I leave the home and I go in transit to get to work, and then I'm at work. There's no more distinction anymore.
yes.
And that's an important factor to this unfolding story. Um, More, I mean, to really try and answer your question, what is it about the inability to notice the individual? I mean, it's happening as we speak with our collective adoration of generative AI and large language models and
Mm,
like a
okay.
chat bot.
Hmm.
Oh, this feels human. It's like, no. Human beings are right here. We're still
This
we're
feels
still
human. No, that's
here.
a human right there next
Like,
to me, guys.
we
Yeah.
we may unfortunately be dehumanizing people as we try and humanize tech. You know what I mean? We try and
Wow.
humanize a chatbot. And that's like, it becomes really hard or impossible to do when we're constantly on call, when we're constantly, as you pointed out, dopamine hits, stressors, news headline, a tweet, a whatever, a metric. Hey, you didn't sleep enough. You're effing like, it's become so much noise
Hmm.
that what I was posturing to the, and what I still, suggest to these companies and these organizations and teams is, we need to pause. Some people go on retreat. Some people go on meditation retreat. Some people go on holiday. Some companies are remote only and they do an annual in-person offsite, whatever it may be. But like, we already know the value of like taking a break.
Hmm.
What I'm trying to suggest here is, we need those breaks to be condensed down to like the everyday, the day to day. And if you're the type of individual, other solopreneurs or or and entrepreneurs or content creators or podcasters or what have you, if you have a dense schedule, then it's up to you to put into that schedule once a week a 30-minute box that says question mark, or 30-minute box that says turn it all off, or like
Yeah.
something that like habituates that pause. Because in that pause comes fill in the blank. I mean, comes anything: inspiration,
Mm.
boredom, rest, a nap, a piece of chocolate, a yummy sandwich, a walk, maybe some exercise, whatever it is, whatever the value, whatever you value. It's really important to hold on to those things, because otherwise we become these automatons and robots that just, we're constantly
Okay.
plugged into this.
All right. Let me sit up straight because you're talking right to me right now. This is all right. Now I'm gonna get selfish. Shout out to everyone in the comments and watching and listening. But yeah, this is you and me right now, man. Because, and the reason I say that, and I say that kind of somewhat jokingly, is literally right now I'm looking, and maybe I should be looking at apps to do this, but I'm looking at time blocking mechanisms for saying admin time, uh, research, tactical, strategic, nothing time, right? I'm actually looking at, and I'm not going to mention any of the apps that folks can know them, and we can talk about those offline. But again, tools and mechanisms from a technology perspective to help me do that time blocking piece and say, this is when I'm going to be live Tuesday through Thursday at these particular times, but Monday, Friday, none of that strategic. Right. Should I not be looking at another technical gear to maintain this work-life balance? Should I get back to the old school, right? I mean, we're talking about the tea drinking experience. Should I get back to old school writing with paper and pencil and reconnect with that as opposed to, again, looking at another digital hit to say, James, this is when you're supposed to stop, pause, slow down, things of that nature.
I think, mm, I'm gonna
You can talk.
dance
You can
around
talk
this one.
at me and to me, right? Yeah, you can
I'm
have
gonna
one
talk
finger
at you.
pointing
I'm gonna,
at.
I'm gonna talk at you and to you and say
Okay.
that I don't know the best way for you to, you are the expert on you. This is my coaching, some of my coaching training to say, like, James, you are the expert on you.
Yeah.
Your life is a living laboratory.
Hmm.
We don't have to commit to these routines all the time. We can change our habits. Um, we make choices every day. We make choices every notification. We make a choice. So, but there's a lot of research and science, uh, to back up this notion of multitasking is a myth.
Mm.
We think we're multitasking, but we're actually just like code switching. We're just like we're just like operator, like, plug here. Okay, tweet thing, calendar, write down. Like, multitasking is, the more we like face maybe some ultimate truth. Again, I can't say that, I don't speak in absolutes,
Yeah.
nor am I an expert on multitasking. However, uh, it it likely is a myth, and that it's I think it's really up to us as individuals, and also as like partners or business partners, or um, creative folk, to to continue to allow some way to like play with these variables so that we can fine tune our needs as they arise. You know,
Okay.
some people change their diet by the season. Some people um, have their habits or entrenched in habits, and then they change location to another city, maybe another country, maybe another culture, and those habits are complete. It's like new culture, new habit. So, in that regard, kind of being, almost being a researcher and a scientist for yourself, and saying and asking yourself, is this working for me? This kind of time blocking.
Hmm.
Because if you feel and you understand and you see, maybe based on reflecting back in the last 3 months, if it's not working for you, then maybe there's some opportunities for iterating, or for changing, for maybe adopting a new habit, maybe adopting a virtual assistant, maybe offloading some tasks to this virtual assistant or other virtual assistants. Maybe that's useful. Maybe you'll open up more vistas of time if you do that. You don't know until you kind of experiment and try. And I don't want to say this from a naive perspective of like, oh, let's just play an experiment and it's all going to work out. It's not that. It. I think what I'm trying to get at, and forgive me for rambling, is just that if we live sort of in the moment more often, if we're more mindful in the moment, we're able to notice when we pause, when we like exert some critical thinking and some discernment, and just like maybe not responding right away, because we've all socially
That's a good
agreed
point.
that like we
Yeah.
respond within
Hmm.
70 seconds or 20 seconds.
Yeah.
That's not normal. you know think about what, even a couple of decades ago, I'd have to like get on the telephone and give you a call and we'd have a conversation, or write you a letter, and then put that letter in an envelope, and then take that envelope to these people, amazing superhero human beings in a post office, to like send that letter,
Imagine that.
take it to you, like that. And I'm saying these things from like having been deeply impacted by, what's his name, Cal Newport, in his book Digital Minimalism. But and his premise is, that's kind of a separate conversation. He's leaning hard on digital detox, but he does talk about uh, solitude deprivation. We're deprived of our time with our thoughts.
Hmm.
And again, I like to bring it down to like the everyday timeline, where he might suggest a 30-day digital detox. That's kind of impossible to do these days in
Right.
2023.
Right.
I say bring it down to like maybe that 30-minute block in your schedule for just time to be bored, seek inspiration, go on a walk or something, or to look at systems that you have set up such as they are and see like maybe where there's room for improvement, room for experimentation, room for play. See if how you would like to improve, these tasks, these habits, these systems, and just
Yeah,
kind of have that, like, you know what wabi sabi is?
I do not.
Have you heard of wabi sabi? Wabi
Talk to
sabi
me. Come
is
on.
wabi sabi is as far as I understand it, I'm not an expert on Eastern philosophy, but it is a Japanese a view, an aesthetic view of the world, in that you, the world is full of impermanence and imperfection, and there's something beautiful about that. And it's relishing that beauty of imperfection and impermanence, and applying a wabi sabi kind of style into somewhere, into your habit or into your business. It's kind of like when you're taking a walk and there's a crack in the concrete, and out of that crack is like maybe a weed or a flower. Maybe it's a flower, maybe it's some mint, maybe it's a sprig of something that you actually like, that people think is a weed, but it's just, oh, there it is, and it's right there, and it's on my path, and it has value. I find it useful, or I find it beautiful. That's what I mean by, like, if we just live in this veneer of constant
Mm.
flat concrete, like there's no room for a crack or a pause or thinking or being bored, that's when, like, these systems become rigid and oppressive. I'm gonna shut up now.
No, listen, Cheryl is hitting with exactly what you're saying. Motivated Minds, Carlos is hitting with you as well, and I know a lot of other folks that are listening as well. She says, look, she's got a Wabi Sabi book in her library, so so she's gonna go find it, pull that out. And I like her last
Yeah.
statement too. Habitual changes to bring tranquility to our lives is like enjoying a few of your favorite things each day, right? So again, I love the fact that, yeah, we were going to talk about one thing, and or intertwine something specific into this about kind of the evolution of podcasting, and we still may get into that. But this right here, again, I think is more concrete and more relevant because one, you're not going to be good at the other thing if you're not good at taking care of yourself, right? And we as technical beings in this 2023, in this post-COVID, whatever we want to say, we are always getting these hits, right? We are always getting these stimuli. We are always saying that I've got to respond to. I do got to respond to my wife when because I'll get in trouble. But we do have to respond to everyone immediately when that's just crazy talk. Um, how to slow that down, how to be intentional about ourselves as opposed to always on, always accessible. That's because that's not healthy. It really isn't, right? I can't be good at what it is that I'm trying to do if I'm always on.
I have to acknowledge that that always on culture may
Mm,
work for some people. I don't want to poo-poo it and say that it's bad. It's like saying a certain diet is bad. It's like, I don't know.
mm,
It's your experience. It's your lived experience. It's your body, your chemistry, your mechanics. I've coached people who say, "Look, I don't want to tell other people about this. I want to talk to you about it, but, like, I'm a social media influencer. I spend 18 hours a day around my device, and I'm okay with that. And it's my business, and it's what I do, and I also find joy in it. And, like, can we talk about that?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, let's talk about that." So, again, what do I have a judgment about someone using their device for 18 hours a day? Like, maybe somewhere in there, but, like, again, try and remain open. Try and remain curious and inquisitive. Pause. I always try and pause before I answer. Sometimes that pause spills a lot into that vacuum of pause. But it's in those extra step, right? What did Miles Davis say? It's what you're not playing That's what
Oh,
people
there you
hear.
go. Okay. And
You
that's
know
my
what I
new
mean?
friend right
So
there. He's
like
quoting.
that's you
Okay.
got, like any soloist knows, it's the rests that you use in your solo.
Yes, sir.
That's what hits people.
Make it plain for the youngsters in the room there, because they may not understand that's we having a informal master class right here. This is not just one on
Why
one class. This is 201
but but why would they understand it? Look at what
Yeah,
they've been raised in.
yeah.
They've been raised in constant, you know.
Listen, you and I remember when TV used to go off at midnight, right? Right. Midnight they would have the news. It would be Walter Cronkite or whoever. They'd play the national anthem, and there would be snow for the rest of the day, rest of the night. Now I've got 600 channels, and I only watch 3 of them. So what are we doing?
Yeah.
Um, let's bring this back to again, kind of the subject matter to the audience, right? Because and again, I think it can be relevant to many other folks, but as opposed to just solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, content creators, and folks within technology, how to be intentional about our usage of technology and how to, because I think would be more productive. And you're going to be the expert. You can correct me if I'm wrong. We would be more productive and more efficient and effective if we do consciously pause. If we do consciously say, "I'm going to take that moment of time to disconnect." Some strategies around how to do that. I know you've talked a couple of them, but let's keep going down this line of some strategies that you tell folks when you're doing your coaching.
I'd say that the two most effective simple ways to do this, again, like pausing is not a profound, is it? I guess it is, depending on your mood and
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah.
It could be
Using
a
big
profound
words
thing.
now, right? So I don't know. Use big words. Yeah.
I'm also getting over a respiratory thing, so sorry for the coughs. But pausing can look different to different people.
Hmm.
Maybe pausing, maybe we stress on pausing when it's like, oh, I need to respond to so and so. They've just texted me. You can use the autoresponder tool that's built into your OS, and you can customize that message.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Okay.
I'm in work mode. I'm in work mode. Thanks so much for your message. I'm busy right now. Multitasking is a bunch of BS. I can't really do that right now, but I really appreciate your message. I really value it. I'll get back to it by end of day, in
Yeah.
2 hours, by Thursday, whatever it is. It's your time. It's your attention. You're in control. That's the autoresponder. You don't have to explain it. The message explains it for you, right? Same thing goes with emails. You can do that for emails. And it's not, this is my boundary, respect it. It's, this is my boundary. You can use it too. You could even put in a line of like, there's an epidemic of distraction and all of our time and attention is sucked away. You should copy paste this autoresponder message and let's do this for everyone.
Yeah. Make it
That's
your
one
own.
way of doing it. Make it your own. But again, that's your decision of, it feels stressful to me to feel that societal pressure of needing to respond within seconds. I may not be available. I may be having a nervous breakdown just trying to figure out how to respond because I'm trying to do 3 other things at the same time. So if that's your decision, use the autoresponder. It's a really great tool. That's one thing. The second simplest thing to do, but again, it's just a habit. It's a force of habit. When you're on your computer, working or whatever, web surfing or consuming content, use a Pomodoro timer.
Mm.
What is a
Mm.
Pomodoro timer? There's a lot of really
Yep.
fun science that goes into it. It's the 25-minute on, 5-minute
Mm-hmm.
break timer. It's built in. The reason why this is important is like the second you open your computer, boom, we're in another reality tunnel.
Right.
We
Right.
may be sucked in for hours, right? The way that the attention economy is set up is that it's designed to keep you engaged and draw you in, not because they're evil, because that's their business bottom line. And so, as one simple, elegant tool, you just open up a tab, go to tomato-timer.com.
Yep.
The second you open your computer, so that you have the time is right there. You see how much time You see 25 minutes, it reminds you, take a 5-minute break. Great. 5-minute break. Boop, adjustment. Step away, drink some water, go to the bathroom, stretch, have a scream, whatever it is, whatever you
All the
need to do
things.
to
Yeah.
like actually
I love that.
feel, I have a body, I have feelings, I feel uncomfortable, I need to do something. This is how we evolve, right? We didn't evolve to sit at this thing for hours and hours and slay it and kill it and crush it. I'm sorry, we haven't.
Tell the truth,
Maybe one
partner.
day we
Tell the
will,
truth.
but like, but let's you know what I mean. Like, again, no shade on like hustle culture, and like I can't do that. I admire you for doing it. Like, that's amazing. You're like, that's like a superpower to me. But use this, use the Pomodoro timer so that you are in control of how much time you're spending
Mm.
on the device. Because as mammals, we need to like step away and we need a pattern interrupt. We need to like look away from the screen and like look out the window and like look at the plant and like drink a cup of water and like be tactile and like touch things because we're mammals.
Yeah.
So remembering those things and kind of building those habits into like use this timer, use an autoresponder, um, use your screen time metrics or the tools to like block apps that you know are going to be distracting to you. Those kinds of, it's a little bit of upfront work to like confront confront the discomfort and confront to question the values themselves. But the long-term effects are just priceless. You begin to notice that you may have your phone in your pocket, you may go to the store, but you may not have the impulse
To
to
check it all
be
the
like
time.
everyone
Yeah.
else in the store, to just like
Hmm.
stand there waiting in line. It's like, no, I'm going to notice someone's outfit or the shoes or whatever, or I may just like be able to zone out and have a thought and just have an idea or like miss my wife or whatever it is. You
To
know what I
have a
mean? Just
thought.
like
Perish the thought,
have
right?
an emotion.
Imagine that.
You know what I mean? Like it's really about the little things.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of nuance there.
Yeah, I like that. And one thing that I use, and here I found a way to rope this back into kind of the other aspect. But this is one of the reasons why, again, that pattern interrupt, why I do this. Right, I bring us in and out on my scenes doing my infocast. I'm smaller, you're bigger, whatever the case, left and right. Is again have that pattern erupt in the brain, so we're not just looking at one static view the entire time. But hearing you say that about again the pause and being the intentional and being not so needing to respond all the time right away. Now I understand better how Swell was probably uh, a good fit for you, right? Because again, that's did that sound right? I don't know if that sounded well.
I think
I
so.
see. I see where you fit into the mindset and the purpose of Swell as as I'm calling it, the evolution of podcasting, because it's asynchronous, right? Deborah started the conversation. I was like, am I online with her? Are we doing this, at the exact same time? But no, it was on my time, asynchronous. When I was ready to respond, she got you talk about that piece, because again, you see what I'm saying now. All the things that you have talked about, tech life balance, managing time, being intentional, not having to respond all the time, and then bringing this back into this technologies piece of the asynchronous podcast experience. That it's a perfect match for you, brother. And so let's rope that in to the audience as well, and tell a little bit about that particular platform, because now, right, I'm clicking on all cylinders and understanding what's going on, and I'm gonna make sure that my Swellcast world is on par now. So talk a little bit about how those two worlds have collided for you in a really good way.
Yeah. So I myself am an amateur podcaster. I've been podcasting for probably 4 years. And podcasting is tough. It's tough. It's tough to synchronize with guests, um, to be like in on mode
Mm-hmm.
when you're supposed to be on mode. Um, I started a solo show called called Wabi Sabi, I could send you the link to that,
Oh
in the
yeah, I need to
future.
find that. I need.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some really great conversations, with really, really fascinating people. The most fascinating conversation was with the digital minister of Taiwan, Andrew Tang, because I started researching Taiwan like in the summer of 2020 when like things were looking kind of bleak here.
Yeah.
And then Taiwan was like the only country in like almost the entire globe that was like, we never locked down. We use our we like we've turned our democracy into a digital democracy. And we have all these these social agreements to like, sorry, I realized in my hands that's gonna affect the camera.
No,
Um
no, that's just good stuff. I'm actually zooming in because the ring were
yeah.
locked
Yeah,
in
yeah,
on you.
yeah.
Keep
I'm
talking.
bringing you but um but like, I did have some wonderful conversations, but like that shame of like, oh, there wasn't consistency like
Hmm.
so and so show. And so there wasn't a lot of engagement like so and so show.
Hmm.
And so there was this kind of like, okay, but the way that Swell reeled me in, ironically, was because so I left Facebook like 4 years ago,
Okay.
which was a really important
Hmm.
value based decision for me after like 12 years of like, mm-mm. Um, but I remain on Instagram. That's like my Instagram is my cigarette. Instagram is my vice. It's also a really great tool to connect with content creators, brands, people, um, ideas, art. Like it is a really cool. It feels weird to call it a community, but there are a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Um,
You're gonna
that
get
being
some more
said,
followers because yeah, because
I know
I'm gonna put
that.
your link in the description. So
Yeah, yeah. But
watch
that
out.
being said, like Instagram has been a cool place, but it's also like it's for me, it's like one of my vices. And my issue with Instagram is that I go there looking for connection. As a mammal who's evolved to, forage, right? We're hunter gatherers at our core. I forage on Instagram for connection and for conversation. Swell ran an ad saying, "Hey podcasters, start your micro podcast on Swell and engage in meaningful conversation." I said, "Great." Boom. Really nice UX, really elegant onboarding. Started to use the tool right away. I I was curious about their ethos, their philosophy, their founders. I found Deborah on LinkedIn. I saw a job post. I responded to a job post. Say, hey, I'm a freelancer. I have some time for a part-time gig. I'm really curious and fascinated about your platform. Count me in. Let me know. I can help. That was 3 months ago.
Next thing you know.
So next thing you know, I'm talking to you right now, and I'm like able to, I'm talking to you because I found you through Taino on LinkedIn.
Nice. And today
So
is his
there's this
official
kind of
launch day for his book. So it's
exactly in
almost like
today's
this was.
launch day. Yeah. You know what I mean? So again, like so for me, the feeling of like we get to amplify each other,
Yeah.
and that's that was what I really wanted from a social media
Mm.
experience. Obviously, you
Hmm.
cannot encapsulate that into one experience. It's an ethos. It's a lifestyle. It's a series of choices. So, in my experience, again, I'm not a co-founder of Swell. I'm a recent addition to the family as an associate producer and outreach coordinator. My goal in Swell is to bring in a lot of uh, inclusive conversations around ethical tech. I was on Clubhouse in that first year of invite
Hmm.
only Clubhouse.
Hmm.
It was a really amazing platform to uh, start talking about digital wellness in the midst of like late stage lockdown. I talked on some 700-person Clubhouse rooms about digital habits and stuff. That was a really empowering experience. And then, again, I don't want to throw shade on Clubhouse, but it got really big, and
It
it
changed.
getting really big, there's a lot of noise,
Yeah.
and so um, so I'm excited that with an opportunity such as it is with Swell, that our focus, is on conversations. Conversations are what's lacking across all social media outlets.
Mm.
Facebook is posting, Twitter is posting and trolling, and Clubhouse was social audio, but like it became, I don't know, it just became so loud and kind of noise driven
Yeah, that's a good
that like
description. The
there's no
noise part.
conversation. There's no conversation. Again, I don't want. Yeah, it's like there's value everywhere, but most importantly, what Swell's doing that differentiates from everyone, that's really important and timely right now, is that it's really honing in on conversation, the
Mm.
ability to actually converse, even in this asynchronous voice memo manner. But we do that anyway. I've gotten so used to a lot of my maintaining relationships during lockdown. We weren't hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
Was trading voice memos. Why? Because we're mammals and we gain more intimacy versus text by hearing voices. I hear your voice through the vibrating diaphragm of the speaker. It does something physiologically to my body. It's an important human feature,
Yeah.
built-in feature. And so what's happening at Swell is meaningful, and it's exciting, and it's really kind of honoring all these things all at the same time, and that we're really, I'm able to like help curate powerful conversations, and that makes me feel like cool. All of the all of the failures and
You're doing
trials to
good. You're
like,
doing good in the
you know what I
world.
mean?
What
So yeah, it's
what I see here and what I like is that podcasting was old, but podcasting is new. Right, podcasting has been around forever in whatever iteration that has been, but now you've got you know, YouTube finally turned on their official podcasting support.
I just read that. I just
Right. I
read that.
mean,
It's
so
amazing.
we've got that. Spotify has had the video podcast for a while, but again, what was old is new again, and the conversation piece has always been what wasn't there. It was always just either that one-to-one dialogue, the talking head, you at one side of the table, me at the other side of the table. But what I'm seeing the value in Swell is again asynchronously. When I'm ready, I can respond back to a conversation that you start, and then we can bring other folks into that dialogue, and again we can hear that entire dialogue, and it lives on, right? So it's not just that one time where we're recording or we're filming that 45 minutes, but it can continue to evolve, continue to grow, and I can hear your engagement, you can hear mine, I can hear whoever I forwarded to, those kinds of things. That's really cool, right? That right
You
there
get
is
to
something I don't think anyone's
you
doing.
get to exactly, you get to hear the evolution of a
Yes.
conversation in
Yeah.
this threaded podcast of
Yeah.
these, of these posts. It's really it's yeah, it's just a beautiful design.
And shall I say, it marries with the other side of your brain. Right here, I am
Mm.
now. I'm a professional, upright, where again you are being conscious, cognizant, and intentional with these engagements and interactions. You're not feeling that you get that notification that someone is responding to your swell, and you have to respond right then. Hey, you could be driving 55 miles an hour down the road. Now's not the time to always respond. You can, when you're in the right mindset, when you're in the right atmosphere or whatever, you can continue that dialogue, and it allows you to go pick up your kids from school and not feel that you have to respond right now. It allows you to go through the uh, creation of that tea right there. I'm glad I brought up that particular one on Instagram right there, because that looked pretty intense. Just what you were doing right there, and we may have to talk about that online, right? Because I'm
Yeah,
pretty.
that's a whole separate
Listen, I'm
conversation,
pretty
but a
similar
worthy one.
like
Yeah.
that with my coffee, and if I need to start getting into tea like that, well, too, we may have to have some more conversations about that. But you
Yeah.
get what I'm saying, right? the technology that you're now involved in allows you to really be whole in your use of technology and your use of and your mindset, saying that I need to pause, I need to be more conscious about how I use all of these pieces in my world and keep what's most important in perspective, your time.
It's hard.
Mm,
It's really hard. Being mindful is not easy. The
that's
point
true.
is the
Wow.
point the point is that it isn't easy.
Man,
The
hold on.
point is
Say
that
say say
it's a
say that
task.
right. Say that one more time. I'm gonna say that one more again, because right there, that piece right there is incredibly important. I don't want to gloss over that. Yeah, man, I got you
It's
now.
hard. The point is that it's work. Look, the this is a powerful tool in that it gives me the superpower of tapping a button and then like food gets delivered to my house, or something I bought gets delivered, or like it has magical superpowers that brings things that may bring physical objects to me. That's a superpower.
Yeah.
It's also just a tool. And my relationship to it is not up to it. It's up to me.
Mm,
And there's a lot of like,
come on, that's good. That's good.
we have to take responsibility. I mean, again, like it feels unfair to say the way it's designed, it wants to extract our attention. Because because there are people behind it
Yeah.
who want to make a lot of money because we live in this, you know,
And
whatever
look,
stage of
you were behind
capitalism
the
that we're in.
walls at one of the largest social network company on the planet, so you get it, and and that's something
I get it.
that I deal with as well from my mindset, because I'm also in
Yeah.
the enterprise IT world. So again, we don't have to pivot, but you get it, why these apps are built the way that they are, and why those notifications, why I specifically said the term dopamine hits. So okay.
Yeah. But like again, to choose to be mindful of how we're using the tool, it's a lot of work. It's a
Yeah.
lot of sort of tiny habit change. Tiny habits like these constant choices. I'm not going to bring this thing into the bathroom.
Mm,
I'm not going to bring it into the I'm going to leave it away from the dining room table so we can sit and have a meal like
imagine that.
time immemorial and look at each other and tell jokes and tell bad dad jokes or whatever, or talk about plans or talk about a summer trip. Like, be
Talk.
in the world, right? we
Just talk.
live
Yeah.
we live in these like we live in these these parallel realities, right? We're in this right now. I'm in a reality where I'm sitting in my kitchen
Yeah.
in this nook with this hand-drawn mandala that my friend Sarah Green made. I'm also living in another reality where I'm talking to you, James, on this glowing rectangle of pixels, and your voice is vibrating vibrating in my ear through these magical earbuds. And we're having this deep conversation. There are other people. Sorry, I didn't even have the chat window open, so I'm able to see some of the chats, the messages, the comments right now. And so us, the royal we're having this kind of collective experience, right? The 8 or 10 of us, which is brought to you by these technologies that we use. And that's amazing. And using these things intentionally takes a lot of work. It's
Yeah.
every day it's a choice. I may be dealing with undue stress and then just need to be I want to be distracted. I want to watch a funny thing. I want to watch a funny show or whatever, or a funny meme. Like I'm going to make those choices to do that. Sometimes I may suddenly realize, oh shit, I just lost 30 minutes. Okay, it's not the end of the world, but you know what? Maybe that was the balm that I needed. Who knows? But
Yeah.
noticing that it happened, and when you notice it, you could then like have a check-in. Sometimes that check-in works best outside of you, with a coach, with a therapist, with a partner, with your wife, with your husband, whoever it may be, maybe in a partnership. But feeling into, how am I using this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel like it's using me? It may feel that way
Wow.
because
Yeah. Come on.
it's constantly doing all these things, and I'm trying to react or respond to it in real time. It's like, that's not human. This is human. You're human. And so making a choice to use a tool, a powerful tool, with more intention is a kinetic choice. It requires kinetic energy. Sometimes that energy isn't endless. Sometimes you don't have the fortitude to like live by those rules or those these values, you know, and that's okay too. Why? Because tomorrow is a different day. Again, try and like be really, really, really present and really honest, and honest in our like, what's the word? Our vulnerabilities and our reality that we are human animals with lots of who fail and make mistakes, and that's okay too.
Man.
And because we live in these social media realities where we are projecting versions of ourselves that aren't necessarily true, where we're filtering our bodies and our faces with a projection that isn't objectively real. We just have to be really, again, I'm not saying caution, red flag, don't exist, don't feed into a machine. I'm not going all matrix here. What I'm saying is it's just important to notice what's happening, when it's happening, and how you feel while it's happening. Because if you don't stop to notice or pause or like, do I want this? Do I not want this? You rob yourself of the choice to do it.
Deep pause. There you
Deep
go.
pause. Speaking of pause, this is empty. Can I like run to can we like take a 1 minute
What?
bathroom break or like a
This
water
is
break
new.
really quick?
All right, we can. I tell you what we'll do. Let's wrap, because I want
Okay.
to I want to do this right. I'm almost like, I think you mentioned something about, this is kind of the, I'm the crack dealer, right? We gave everybody a little something just now, and we're gonna have them come back. This is what we're gonna do, man. This was an amazing conversation. This really got me in a whole different way, and I love this. Adam, tell folks where they can find you, because again, I want to continue this conversation, but I want to go deeper into, again, some of those best practices, like I said, those ideals that you teach people in your coaching sessions, because I think that matters, and the fact that we were able to bring it back into kind of the Swell aspect, but again, being intentional about our usage of technology and not letting it use us as opposed to us using it. I want to get into that next time. So real briefly, before you go refill your coffee, tell folks where they can find you,
brother. Gosh, find me. I got a website. You can find me there, adamyasmin.com. I'm active on Instagram. I'm getting more active on LinkedIn. You can hit me up there. I'm active on Swell. You can find me on Swell. Where else am I active?
He doesn't
I
even
think
know.
that's really pretty much.
This guy.
That's a pretty good. Yeah, that's a pretty good. There's a couple places, you know.
All right.
Yeah, and I love the conversations.
Go to the bathroom. Adam, okay. You're a good man. Listen, I appreciate you, man. I will connect with you soon. Now, go to the bathroom. I'll close it out. You're a good man. I will put all the links. Oh my God, the guy's got to go to the bathroom in the middle of the street. I should keep recording. Go do what you got to do, brother. I appreciate you. Everyone that was watching, thank you as well, and have a
great, man. Thank you.
Day.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
The joys, thank you to everyone who chimed in. The love of live casting. Adam, take care of yourself, brother.
I'm a little bit rough, man. Hey, thanks so much, James. I hope to really connect with you soon. Look forward to going deeper. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Be good to yourself. Bye-bye.